Now, let me just go back to the beginning for the proclamation of appreciation to the election workers and Easton employees. Connor, do you want to give a little introduction to that?
Sure. So as the board, and I think many members of the public are aware, um, many of our employees and volunteers who support them have had to step up in a variety of different ways this year in response to coronavirus. And I think a really clear and compelling example of that has been the work of elections offices around the country and here in Easton to administer safe democratic exercises under a variety of strange circumstances relating to the pandemic. And, Dottie and I spoke about it and thought that that was probably and perhaps the most visible example of on the town side of the extraordinary efforts that folks have had to go to continue to conduct the business of the public. But that it's certainly not the only one, and it's one of actually many and continuing examples of the extraordinary efforts by not only our elections staff led by Danielle, but police and fire, public works, certainly Kristen and the health department, CERT team, board of registrars, so many different board and committee volunteers to continue to keep things moving under these circumstances. And so we drafted a letter that Dottie, I would ask, I know it's a little bit lengthy, but perhaps you could either read most or all of it or pieces of it into the record for the board to vote to adopt, which we could then get a nice letterhead from the board and get that out to all of our staff and those citizen teams supporting them, just to acknowledge and thank them. Given it's nearly Thanksgiving, I thought that was appropriate.
Sure, and I had asked Craig earlier if he would be willing to read this as the clerk, right. So he's going to read the long letter.
Long version.
The long version.
A letter of appreciation to the election workers and employees of the town of Easton. The COVID-19 pandemic has upended the normal ebb and flow of daily life for all of us. Recent weeks have brought national attention to local governmental operations that typically go under the radar with little fanfare, that is the administration of elections. On November 3rd, thousands of Easton residents participated in a safe and healthy election and were able to witness the culmination of collective effort, which we have had the great privilege to see for many months now. The successful planning, communicating, and implementation of elections spread out over weeks of early voting, months of administrative efforts, and for many excited voters, years of anticipation. The overwhelming positive feedback from the public is testament to how incredibly talented you are to make such a task, administrating an election in a pandemic, look like another day's work. We understand, however, that the election and so much of this year have been anything but another day's work, and that the continued operation of the town has hinged on the extraordinary performance of our employees, joining together with volunteers across boards and committees, as well as community responders like CERT. Throughout this crisis, our staff and the volunteers who work with them have demonstrated time and again they are emblematic of the best of public service. Whether it is the sleepless nights in the town clerk's office, the frenzied days, and the incredible election workers and volunteers who turned out in the pandemic to support them, or the teamwork of our first responders in police and fire working with the Department of Health and Community Services together with our incredible CERT team to keep the polls safe and healthy for all, or behind the scenes laboring of public works to erect various virus guards, place distance markers, move tents, and set up booths, you all rose to the incredible challenges placed before you. It is impossible to adequately cover all of the specific and individual items that each different department, employee, and volunteer contributed to the greater whole. Suffice it to say, your individual effort came together through a collective purpose to ensure that voters in Easton could safely and comfortably exercise their rights under incredible circumstances that none of us could have ever imagined. But while the election is one of the most visible and recent examples of such incredible efforts, it is not the only one. Despite the challenges posed by COVID-19, ambulances and police cruisers still show up at a moment's notice. Veterans' benefits are still processed. Roads are still paved. Sewer and water mains are installed and repaired. Permits are issued. Long-term plans for housing, infrastructure, and the environment continue. Critical messaging around public health is delivered. Information technology systems are maintained. Budgets are planned, adopted, and accounted for. And the whole business of the public marches on. For all of that, we say thank you to the town of Easton employees and those who support them. Your example speaks truth to the incredible good brought by working together, and you are an inspiration to the select board. Thank you for everything you do. We thank the residents of Easton for their continued resiliency in the face of this pandemic, and we ask that they join in our recognition and thanks of our election workers, first responders, and all employees. We are all in this together. With gratitude, the select board, today, 16th of November, 2020.
Thank you, Craig. Just going to go around and ask if anyone has any comments, and then we'll take a consensus to have this drafted if the board is in agreement with it, to have this finalized if the board's in agreement. So Craig?
I said it all. I read it all.
Tom?
There's nothing more to be added. It was a very well said statement. I would just personally say thank you as well.
Chuck?
I couldn't have said it as well as Craig did, and I do feel that we're very lucky to have such a group of people doing the work they did under a very stressful situation. Thank you.
Mark?
Easton is very fortunate, and this has probably been the worst year in decades, probably since I've been alive. So thank you.
And I agree with everybody's comments. We're very, very lucky to have such a great staff, and they go over and above all the time. But in this particular year, it's really very, very much appreciated. And I'm glad we were able to recognize that. And Connor, thank you for drafting this and bringing it forward to us. So do we have to take an official vote, or is the consensus that we can finalize this?
The draft did say adopted by vote, so I would just ask for a motion to adopt the letter as presented.
Okay.
So moved. Barger.
Second, Broussard.
Roger Broussard?
Barger, yes.
Broussard, yes.
King, yes.
Lamb, yes.
Janetti, yes. Thank you.